we are now happy to introduce Läkarmissionen and their partner EIS Kenya to talk about the green transformation, bringing community voices to the Stockholm Plus 50. And once again, referring to the UN conference, Stockholm Plus 50. So I leave the word now to Josephine Sundström, Secretary General at Läkarmissionen, to introduce her team and her thoughts.
Okay. Thank you so much. As some of you may know, my surname is Sundqvist, but I'm quite used to having my surname expressed in different ways. It's wonderful to be here in the SMC membership days, as we are also a proud member of the platform and the network. And for us, this day is important because driving innovation and being part of the transformation is something that we have set out as a strong priority in our global strategy and for our global management. Today in the session, we will be here to conclude great thoughts and contributions that we have already got, both from Anna and from Karin. And we will also add our perspectives from resilience work on the ground and why we need a bottom-up approach in order to come forward in the green transformation. And we are 3 contributors in this last part of the session. It's myself as the Secretary General of LM International, and also Mary from our core partner for our resilience work from IIS Kenya, and also Melanie, who is our global lead for our work on resilience and innovation globally. And what I would like to say first before stepping into our concluding presentation is that there are 2 things that have been addressed and mentioned by Karin and Anna that I want to just bring up, which really resonates with our key messages. One is what you said, Anna, that it's our local partners and the community actors that are actually living the climate change on an everyday basis. And that is what we see in our work, and that is why we find it important to bring community voices, not only to the Stockholm Plus 50 conference in June, but also in all our policy dialogues and platforms around climate change and resilience building. The second key message was from you, Karin, when you shared your journey within your organization towards more sustainable traveling and basically what it means to live what you preach. And in this case, I feel very proud about standing in our digital studio. And I'm also glad that we are able to host the membership days from our studio. And this is part of our journey, our digital journey, to utilize new technique, possibilities with digital transformation that can enable us to work more closely without always traveling by flight. If we go to our first slide, you can see the heading, as you've seen before from the program, that we want to speak a little bit about the realities of green transformation. It's easy when we talk about the planetary boundaries and when we mention about planetary health, that we get lost in these global theoretical concepts. And we wonder how and why does this matter for a single farmer or our local partners or our everyday realities. And this is important. We need to talk more about the realities of green transformation. If we continue with the presentation, can the studio put it on? Next slide, thank you. The new way which we are moving into, both in our network here, but also in Swedish development cooperation at large and global development, is a journey where it's not a choice if we want to work with environment and resilience building. It's a must. It's not a choice, it's a must. And the question is rather, to what extent are we daring and are allowing ourselves as managers, as leaders, as workers, as volunteers, as movements to move in this direction? Because the climate crisis is a reality and we must transform not only the work we do, but we also must transform as organization. And we must make climate adaptation, resilience building a priority in our overarching strategies as organizations. Moving on, we can see that faith comes in very naturally in all of this. We have heard from Alan Atkinson, from Niklas, from many of the speakers today that faith matters for innovation and transformation. And what we see in LM International in our work is that many of our partners who are faith actors on the ground, they are approaching development from a holistic point of view. And they are seeing human health as part of planetary health. They are seeing climate change as something real, as part of their everyday life in their faith communities. So for us, faith is not only something that can be an add-on or a top-on when we work with green transformation, but faith and faith actors is something that makes us ready and enable us to actually move in the green transformation. And we also see that many of our faith partners are very radical, they are very progressive, and they are seeing an urgent need for us all to take this more seriously. When we move forward, we can see that in many of our environment programs and projects, we have designed them for a long time, for decades, often from too much of a top-down approach. We have designed programs from head office, from headquarters. We tend to look at global templates and frameworks for resilience building. And there is a risk that we are not sensitive enough to the actual needs and voices of the communities where we actually want to invest and build resilience. So in LM, we have started at the structural level in all our environmental work to apply a participatory approach to all our resilient building projects. And this is quite time-consuming. It means that we must be there, listen, do joint dialogues, joint design, joint planning. We cannot just write off proposals at an head office level, but we must design it thoroughly together with the affected communities. And this is something we will now look into and see what it means in reality. So I will hand over the word to Mary to share with us from Kenya how Resilience Buildings program can be jointly designed and applied together with communities on the ground.
Yeah, thank you very much, Josephine. And moving from the old way of doing things to the new way of doing things, as Josephine has alluded to, I think the humanitarian workers and donors, we've been accused of doing things, bringing foreign ideas to the communities. And we have noted it is time that we involved the communities, especially the elders. They have a wealth of experience. So in the photograph you can see in our presentation, we have communities coming together, discussing and bringing their own ideas of how resilience can be done in their community. Next slide. You realize that we cannot just, the previous one there. We also work with the government, and in my slide, the next one, you will find that we have government officials that is able to guide us technically on how to do our things, because we do not work alone. The government comes in and give us even the coordinates. And in this project, we were actually doing technically of how to do a water pan. So you can see a government official with a pen, and he's trying to give the community, you can see some ladies in the background, giving community ways of how we will put the beacons and where we shall dig. If you move to the next slide, you will find that we were breaking the ground. Here we were IAS Kenya together, and we came together as a community and the organization, and we decided to break the ground together and show the community that we are doing this together. And in the next slide, you will find that ladies and men, they are together working. So there's nothing like gender, because when it comes to work, if they don't have water, it's everyone who do not have water. And in this community, you will find women will say, no, this is not the way to do things. And the voices of women have been heard. And we are grateful that in this community, we've been able to have dialogue together, such that we do not have issues where men say everything. Women have also had voices. And because they are there from the word go, from the discussions, they feel empowered. They feel that they have a voice, and they can be able to bring their voices even to the community work. And in my next slide, you will find that we bring people together. And when you see this water pan, this is what we've actually broken the ground in the previous presentation. If you look in the previous slide, you will find that we are breaking ground for this water pan. And this water pan, it was able to collect water, and they came and they were very excited. And the way you can see even the concrete part, that is where the government comes in, helps us with the coordinator, the technical bit of doing it. So when the water pan collects water, the communities are excited together. They come for Farmers Field Day, and they are able to learn together. Next slide, kindly. And this one, as you can see now, it's the same water pan. It's now full of water, and we bring them together. They call themselves Farmers Field Day. We give them seeds and farm inputs. We also train them on how to do the modern method of farming, because most of them have been doing very traditionally, and we want them to hear from them, from the old way that you've been doing things and the new way that we have introduced. And also they have also space to give their suggestion. They learn, we give them seeds and input, and they have been able actually to produce food together. And what they are not able to consume, because it has been a lot, they are able to go to the market and get some money from the surplus of food. So we are bringing the voices of the community together. We want to hear, especially from the elders. When we talk of resilience, there is a way even the elders can look at the climate, they can look at the clouds, they can look at the direction of the sun, and they can tell you it's either going to rain or we have drought for a number of days or a number of years, because they are able to read, because they have a lot of wealth of experience. The elders in the community have been very, very important. So I'll hand over to Melanie just to show how we are able to replicate and scale up this particular project in the region. Melanie, welcome.
Hi, thanks, Mary, and thanks, Josephine. And also hi to everyone who's on the line. It's great to have a chance to speak to you. So my name is Melanie. I'm the Global Sustainable Innovation Manager and also the Global Lead for Climate Resilience Work at LM. I guess you've seen both our overview approach of how we work with resilience, and also a little bit more of a practical example with IAS Kenya. And I apologize for any background noise, still living the challenges of a home office, and everyone at my home right now has COVID. So yeah, we do what we can. So LM, we work with resilience in kind of two ways, or kind of two approaches. First of all, it's the kind of modular build approach, which is bottom up, systems thinking, holistic, participatory, using best practice and gathering best practice and making sure that what it is that we design and work with is really by the community and for the community, as well as communities strengthening each other, which I'll go to in a little bit more detail in a minute. And then the second is also making sure that we create local partnership and also cross-sectoral, so working with private, public, sectors, civil society, and also academia, and making sure that these partnerships that we have is not just about sharing experiences and sharing knowledge, but also co-creating and co-collaborating. So working around global challenges with both local actors in those cross-sectoral sectors that I mentioned, as well as working with international actors and facilitating an ability for us to learn from each other. Whereas before, this idea of resilience has been very much top down or telling communities what should be done. It's more about collaborating and working together and really looking at how to empower and strengthen as being that core part of how to have resilience, because resilience isn't just about the end product and like the physical infrastructure. It's also the resilience of a community to be able to deal with stresses when on their own, being able to build that community and social fabric and the ability to create innovative mindset and systems thinking. We also work with IAS Kenya as our regional partner for resilience in Eastern Africa, and looking at consolidating 10 years of experience from IAS Kenya side to replicate a resilience model regionally. The idea is also to use leverage points within that resilience model. So it's a 7-step looking at natural resource management, environmental sustainability, governance, human rights, infrastructure development, peace building and security, education and empowerment, community health and water, and economic empowerment and economic and financial sustainability. And within that, looking at key leverage points, like engaging with key stakeholders, faith leaders, traditional leaders, in order to scale up what that transformation is and what that resilience model is. We're looking at how can you consolidate and empower and make sure that there's an approach or a resilience model that can also be taken up by other communities that are inspired by communities, creating this network of inspiration and learning from each other. And then this is complemented, as I said, by a regional resilience platform, which brings in that cross-sectoral approach and that global mindset. So we're starting with our principles and also how we apply those principles practically in the Eastern African context. I'm very much excited to see how we can learn from others on this call about their resilience approach, and also to share our experience and our thoughts. But thank you so much, Mary. You are an inspiration, and the work that you do has really given us so much energy to keep going.
So thank you very much, Josephine and Mary and Melanie, for your input and your experiences and your really practical work with your water pans. I have seen the results, some of them, and it's really inspiring, really inspiring. We don't have so much time to questions now, but if anyone have a question or comment in the chat, please write them down. So maybe Josephine and your team, Mary and Melanie, can comment and respond to them afterwards. Is it possible for you? So please write down your comments and questions in the chat. And I would like to say thank you to all of you that participated in this session and inspired us to continue this work, where we don't put green as a prefix anymore. We integrate it in all what we are doing